What if you're not lazy at all, but simply misaligned with your true purpose? Could your constant procrastination be a silent rebellion against the life you never truly wanted? And what if the cure for your laziness isn't motivation, but clarity? You are not broken. You are not lazy. Somewhere inside you, there's a spark, an ambition flickering quietly beneath the noise. It might be a vision of the life you dream of, a mission that tugs at your soul in the quiet moments. But here's the truth. That inner vision is out of sync with your current reality. And that disconnect, that's where the struggle begins. That's where people start labeling you lazy. They say, maybe you've started to believe them too, but they're wrong. Because laziness isn't a character flaw, it's a rest. Symptom, a signal, a sign that something deep within you has drifted off course. You don't need another motivational scream fest or a productivity hack. What you need is a mirror, a chance to get brutally honest, to confront the truth behind your inaction, to ask yourself, not just what you're doing, but why you're doing it. This isn't about pushing harder. It's about realignment. Because when your inner purpose and your daily actions come into harmony, momentum becomes natural, and that feeling you've mistaken for laziness, it starts to fade. So if you're ready, really ready, we begin here with the first lie we've all been told. The lie of laziness. You've been called lazy. Maybe even whispered it to yourself. You see the late starts, the missed chances, the growing list of unfulfilled tasks, and think, maybe I'm just not cut out for this. But the Stoics would shake their heads. They'd tell you laziness isn't the root issue. It's the smoke, not the fire. It's not that you're inactive. You move, you scroll, you binge. Your body works, your mind races, but your soul has gone silent. You're not lazy. You're distracted. You're disconnected from what actually matters. You're trapped in a loop of false urgency, doing things that feel active, but lead nowhere. Marcus Aurelius warned us, if it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. That includes the stories we whisper to ourselves. What we call laziness often masks fear. Fear that we'll fail if we try. Fear that we don't actually want what we say we want. There's a tug of war inside you between ambition and desire. Ambition says, write the book, launch the brand, get into med school. Desire whispers, stay comfortable, stay safe, don't risk it. And when those voices don't agree, you stall. Not because you're weak, because you're torn. Maybe you say you want to be a lawyer, but deep down, the thought of grinding through endless case studies and sacrificing your soul in a suit-filled office crushes you. So you stall. You disappear into distractions. You start calling yourself lazy. But really, you're resisting a goal that was never yours to begin with. Seneca once said, "No man was ever wise by chance. A meaningful life isn't built on autopilot. It's built through alignment. When you chase for the status, for the validation, for the illusion of being seen, you'll always end up empty. That's the VIP table illusion. The nightclub trick where empty tables become desirable only because someone put a velvet rope around them. We do this with our careers, our goals, our lives. chasing things that look impressive but feel hollow. The Stoics knew better. They didn't crave attention. They craved alignment. Their ambition wasn't performance. It was virtue. So ask yourself, are you lazy? Or are you misaligned? The truth about desire. Let's strip it all back. Beyond the goals, the hustle, the vision boards. What remains? Desire. But not just desire for pleasure or comfort. At the core, we all crave to be seen, valued, admired. And that desire, if unexamined, leads us down paths that aren't ours. René Girard called it mimetic desire. The idea that most of what we want isn't truly ours. It's a reflection of what others desire. Imitation disguise. Aired as ambition, you think you want. A six-pack, maybe. Or maybe you just want to feel worthy. You think you want to be a lawyer. Or maybe you're just trying to win your father's approval. You think you want to be successful. Or are you just terrified of looking like a failure to your friends? Epictetus warned us, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because truth looks strange in a world obsessed with pretending. Improvement starts with honesty. The kind of honesty that doesn't photograph well. The kind that makes people uncomfortable. A table. So ask yourself, who are you trying to impress? If the answer is everyone, your energy will never be your own. You'll burn out chasing borrowed dreams. The Stoics offered a radical alternative. Change your audience. Seek out those who live with depth. Not flash. Surround yourself with people who admire discipline, not just aesthetics. Want to get in shape? Don't follow influencers. Train with those who respect the grind. Want to create something meaningful? Collaborate with those who care more about the message than the metrics. Because your deepest desire isn't applause, it's alignment. And once your desires reflect your voice, not your parents, not societies, not Instagrams, you'll stop performing and start becoming. The power of social pressure, used wisely, every day, whether you notice it or not. Social pressure shapes you. Your friends, your colleagues, your mentors, they don't just influence you, they form you. You, if you're not conscious of your environment, you don't rise above it. You sink into it. You become what you repeatedly do. But what you repeatedly do is often shaped by what your circle rewards or rejects, surrounded by people who chase clout. You'll chase clout. Spend time with those who value wisdom. You'll crave truth, even when it hurts. Remember the nightclub story. Empty tables became desirable just because they were labeled reserved. Status is fragile, and our brains, if we're not careful, confuse status with meaning. So what's the Stoic move? Use social pressure, but on your terms. Don't just write goals. Declare them out loud to someone who won't let you slip. Accountability isn't weakness, it's strategy. And if you don't have the right circle yet, create it. Be the one who sets the tone. Be the one who trains, who reads, who shows up. Anchor your growth in shared purpose. Because discipline thrives not just in solitude, but in community. And that's the paradox. You've been told that laziness is the enemy, that you simply lack drive. But what if the issue isn't about doing more, but wanting less, less noise, less pressure, less of what doesn't matter? In the next part of this journey, we'll break down the ambition trap and how to trade fantasy for focus and intensity for integrity. It's not about giving up your dreams, it's about building them on solid ground. Let's keep going. So far, we've exposed the myth of laziness. You're not lazy. You're misaligned. Misaligned with your purpose, your desires, and often with the people around you. We looked into the lies you've inherited, the borrowed dreams you chase, and the pressure of imitation mistaken for ambition, and most importantly, we began to shift the focus from forcing motivation to finding alignment. Now, let's go deeper, because even when you've uncovered the misalignment, there's still one more trap waiting to slow you down. It's not fear, it's not laziness, it's something more deceptive. It's ambition itself. The ambition trap. How to want less and do more. There's a reason most ambitious people secretly feel like failures. It's not because their dreams are wrong. It's because their path to those dreams is built on delusion. We've been fed this modern myth. If your goals don't scare you, they're not big enough. That you should manifest wildly, think massively, and build empires before breakfast. But Stoicism slices through that noise like a sharp blade. The Stoics never said aim higher. They said aim wiser. Because ambition without alignment, it self-destructs in disguise. It looks like discipline, sounds like confidence, but it's actually performance art. You're not lazy because you lack passion. You're lazy because your desires are empty, hours away from your daily reality, and when what you want doesn't match what you do, your system freezes. Paralysis isn't weakness. It's a misfired survival mechanism. Think of it like this. You want to climb a mountain, but you're still barefoot at the base. You stare at the summit, overwhelmed, frozen. So what do? Nothing. You scroll. You retreat. You call yourself unmotivated. But what you really are is disconnected. Look at Edison. He didn't invent the light bulb through grand romantic vision boards. He didn't say, let's change the world with light. No. He said, let's try one filament, then another, then another. Not revolution, repetition. That's the Stoic way. Embrace the grind, not the grandeur. Because the higher your dream, the heavier it becomes. If it's not rooted in something meaningful, it won't lift you. It will crush you. That's why psychology confirms this truth. When a goal feels too distant or impossible, your motivation doesn't rise. It collapses. But when a goal feels just out of reach, effort surges. Why? Because your brain sees a path, a gap it can close. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, do what's in front of you with justice, sincerity, and simplicity. He wasn't chasing glory. He was focused on what was right here, right now. No fluff, no fantasy. So how do you overcome your so-called laziness? You stop dreaming about the finish line and start committing to the next step. Want to write a book? Write one sentence, just one. Then do it again. Want to get fit? Put on your shoes. Walk around the block. Want to build a business? Email one person, test one tiny idea. Because the Stoic path isn't about chasing intensity. It's about building consistency. And consistency, over time, compounds. What once felt impossible begins to feel inevitable. But here's the nuance. Lowering your ambition doesn't mean lowering your standard. It means respecting your process. That process will include stumbles, repetition, doubt, silence. It will be far from glamorous. So if your ambition is rooted in vanity, in applause, in shallow approval, you'll quit the second it gets quiet. But if it's rooted in purpose, in something deeper than status, you'll keep going, even when no one's watching. Because there will be days when progress is invisible, when the work feels pointless, and the applause is gone, and it's in those moments that your why will be tested. If your reason is shallow, you'll give up. But if your mission runs deeper than your mood, you'll endure. That's what separates the performatively driven from the truly disciplined. They're not chasing hype. They're building endurance. Stoicism teaches us to lower the drama, not the direction. To aim for what matters, not what glitters. To commit quietly, not perform loudly. Seneca put it plainly. It is not that we have a short life, but that we waste much of it. So don't waste it dreaming about someday. Decide what matters. Make it small enough to start, and repeat it until it grows. You don't need to want more. You need to want wisely. Building bulletproof discipline through mission, not motivation. Now that we've exposed the ambition trap, let's talk about how you actually build something sustainable. Because even if you align your goals, even if you lower the barrier to action, there's still one more silent saboteur: motivation. Most people treat motivation like a weather pattern. They wait for it. They hope for it. They depend on it. But the Stoics didn't trust motivation. They trusted mission, because motivation is emotional. Mission is ethical. Motivation fluctuates with mood. Mission endures, no matter how you feel. And that's the core difference between the motivated and the disciplined. The motivated only tee up by emotion until that flame flickers out. The discipline, they move regardless of the flame. Let's be honest. You've had those days. Fired up, playlists blasting, goals written out in bullet points, and then 3 days later, you ghosted your own dreams. Why? Not because you're broken, but because you were relying on a fuel source that burns out fast. Motivation is a burst. Mission is a foundation. That's why Stoicism doesn't ask, what excites you? It asks, what remains when excitement fades? Look again at Edison. Thousands of failures, but he kept going. Not because he was hyped, but because he had a cause, a reason beyond applause, a missio. And that demanded endurance. This is what the Stoics call eudaimonia, a life aligned with your highest good. Not pleasure, not comfort, but integrity. A life in service of something sacred. Something that calls you upward. So here's the question. What is your mission? Not your job title, not your 5-year plan, not your image, but your mission, the thing you'd still pursue even if no one saw, even if you failed 100 times, even if the world forgot your name. When your ambition is rooted in that, discipline becomes natural. You stop negotiating with excuses. You stop outsourcing your effort to how you feel that day. You show up, not for hype, but for honor. That's why Stoicism teaches temperance, not as denial, but as mastery. You don't act on impulse. You act on purpose. You don't chase dopamine. You chase alignment. And when you're aligned, you don't need validation to move forward. You don't wait for motivation to take action. You move because it's right, because it's true, because it's yours. Will you stumble? Of course. You'll fall short. You'll forget. But a Stoic never mistakes a stumble for a failure. True failure isn't falling. It's refusing to return. Missed your deadline? Begin again. Skipped your routine? Start today. Lost your way? Come back to the mission. This is how you build discipline that lasts. Not by hacking your habits, not by tricking your brain, but by align. You're alive so fully with purpose that discipline becomes a side effect. Seneca said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow, so write your why. Speak it out loud. Anchor your life to it. Let it become your compass, not your craving. You don't need to be the loudest, or the fastest, or the most motivated. You need to be the most anchored." Now, we've uncovered the power of purpose, how mission can carry you when motivation fails. But there's one more piece to this Stoic equation. One more overlooked truth modern culture rarely teaches. It's not about doing more. It's about becoming aligned. And that's exactly where we're headed next. Let's continue. You don't need to do more. You need to become aligned. Modern life shouts at you. Hustle harder. Wake up earlier. Grind your way to glory. Stack habits like building blocks until success caves in. From the weight of your own willpower. But the Stoics, they whispered a different truth. You don't need to do more. You need to become aligned. You're not broken. You're fragmented. You say you want peace, yet chase chaos. You say you want success, yet scroll endlessly through distractions. You say you want growth, but flay every inch of discomfort. This isn't laziness, it's dissonance, a soul out of tune with its own music. The Stoic path isn't about charging ahead at full speed in the wrong direction. It's about slowing down just long enough to choose the right one. Marcus Aurelius didn't beg himself to be more productive. He didn't schedule every second of his day with colored labels and alarm clocks. No, he returned, again and again, to the present. If you are distressed by anything external, he wrote, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke. That's the power of clarity. It dissolves suffering at the root, because the lie isn't that you lack energy. The lie is that you're powerless, that you can't change course unless conditions are perfect, that you need a new tool, a better app, a sharper system. But what you really need is truth. Stop pretending. Stop pretending that your goal matters if you're not willing to suffer for it. Stop pretending that you're tired when deep down, you're just afraid. Stop pretending you don't know where to begin, when really, you just don't want to fail. A Stoic sees these illusions and replaces them with reality. You are not incapable. You are not undisciplined. You are not lazy. You are misaligned. You're acting. Arms, desires, and environment are pointed in different directions, and that tension, that's what drains you. So let's bring it all together. Let's simplify this storm of inner conflict. When you feel stuck, when you find yourself endlessly scrolling, endlessly pausing, endlessly plowing but never moving, ask, am I chasing something I don't actually want? Am I forcing myself into someone else's dream? Am I surrounding myself with people who reward distraction instead of inviting discipline? That's the real work, the deep and comfortable and glamorous work of confronting your own story. From there, it's about refinement. Strip your ambition down. Sharpen it. Don't make it bigger. Make it truer. Downscale the dream, not that. Ask you're weak, but because you're. Why deserves clarity? Surround yourself with people who challenge you, not comfort you, who elevate your standard, not your ego, who mirror your values, not your vanity. And above all, commit to small, intentional action, not because it makes for a good post, but because it reflects who you actually are and who you are becoming. That's Stoicism. Discipline over drama, consistency over intensity, alignment over ambition. You don't need to run faster. You need to walk straighter. You don't need to do everything. You need to do the right things, repeatedly, with presence and purpose. And when you stumble, good. Every stumble is data. Every moment you break from the path reveals exactly where you're not yet aligned. The Stoics never promised perfection. They promised progress. They promised that if you walk this path with honesty, even slowly, even shakily, you would grow. So take a breath. Drop the pressure. Stop trying to impress the world and start listening to what matters, not the noise. Not the applause, not the hustle gospel, but truth, purpose, the quiet signal beneath, the chaos. That's where discipline is born, not from punishment, but from peace, not from hype, but from harmony. And that's where laziness fades, not through shame, but through return. You are not here to chase every goal. You are here to embody one purpose, and when that purpose becomes clear, even your hardest steps feel lighter. Even your choices become cleaner. Even your days become more sacred. You don't need more motivation. You need less noise, less confusion, less approval. Because in that space, where the excess is stripped away, you will finally find what every seeker longs for. Not energy, not ambition, but resolve. That is the Stoic way. That is how you become unshakable. But before we close this journey, there's one final truth you need to hear. One last myth to confront. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're not lazy. You're just not aligned, yet in the next section. We'll uncover how to rediscover your mission, how to reignite that fire, not with more willpower, but with more truth. Let's finish strong. Final thought. You're not lazy. You're just not aligned yet. Let's drop the mask completely now. No more performance. No more pretending. Just this moment, and the truth it holds. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're not lazy. You are simply not aligned yet. When your ambition doesn't match your desire, when your goals don't reflect your values, when your daily choices feel disconnected from your deeper truth, resistance shows up, procrastination follows, avoidance becomes a pattern. Not because you lack discipline, but because your soul knows. This path is not yours. The Stoics never judged failure, but they did judge blindness. They warned against chasing shadows, goals that impress but don't fulfill. They taught that clarity begins when imitation ends. So here, at the end, let's return to the beginning. Ask yourself, gently but honestly, what do I truly want? Beneath the noise, beneath the pressure, beneath the performance. What would I still chase, even if no one saw me succeed? What would I still love, even if I failed over and over? That is your mission. That's the spark that no algorithm, no trend, no empty praise can give you. And from that place, when you finally own what's yours, laziness dissolves, not through force, but through fear. Pray, a quiet fire, a steady flame, the kind that doesn't scream, the kind that burns inward, slow, strong, and real. Because when your life aligns with what matters, discipline becomes a side effect. You're no longer dragging yourself forward. You're drawn. You're no longer performing. You're becoming, and suddenly, the path doesn't feel like a grind. It feels like a return to who you were before the noise, before the comparison, before the borrowed dreams and hollow applause. You stop asking, what will they think? And start asking, is this true? You stop chasing outcomes and start committing to presence. You stop needing permission and start walking with purpose. Because now, finally, it's your life you're living. And not theirs, not the one social media rewards, not the one your parents imagined, not the one you thought you should want, but the one your soul has been quietly waiting for you to reclaim. So if we stumbled, good, stumbling means you're emotion, stumbling means you're learning. Stumbling means you stopped pretending and started trying. And if you strayed, come back. Come back to the mission. Come back to the step that's right. In front of you, come back to the truth that doesn't need applause to be valid. The Stoics weren't superheroes. They were humans, flawed, tired, afraid. But they walked anyway. They wrote anyway. They realigned. Again and again. And so can you. Strip away the noise. Let go of the performance. Stop trying to be the most motivated person in the room. Instead, be the most anchored. Be the one who walks slowly, but with eyes open. Be the one who acts not for attention, but for integrity. Be the one who stumbles, but never quits. Because once your mission is clear, once your ambition is aligned, once your daily actions match your deeper purpose, laziness dies, not in battle, but in surrender, in letting go of everything false and choosing. Finally, what's real. Thank you, truly, for walking this journey with us. If this message helped you see clearly again, even for a moment, hold on to that. Clarity fades. Truth needs repetition. So come back to this when you forget. Return to the fire when the noise gets too loud. If you feel seen, supported, realigned, subscribe to Modern Stoic Life. This channel exists for moments like this. Moments when the world feels too fast, and you just need one. Place that reminds you, you are not lazy. You are not lost. You are not too late. You're just returning to what matters, to what's yours, to who you've always been underneath the noise. If you'd like to support the mission, consider leaving a super thanks below. Every gesture, no matter how small, helps us bring more Stoic wisdom into a noisy, frantic world. Until next time, live with purpose, act with courage, stay grounded, and always remember you don't need more motivation, you need more meaning.